All right, Jim, the floor is yours.
Cool. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Well, great to have everyone out here. Great to meet everybody. I'm very excited about this. Let me go ahead here, share my screen. Cool.
I don't know if it's just me, but the slide is inverted. So
Oh
I
my
didn't.
gosh. Wow. That's not a problem, actually. This is part of what will be many slides that are designed to exercise your
Good brain exercise.
brain. Oh, yep. Welcome to the theme. What's actually happening when you're working to learn how to read like this, instead of your eyes going from left to right in the traditional direction, they're going from right to left in the mirror direction. It's a very subtle thing, but that eye movement, according to all the research that I've done, that I'll get into, that I present, that eye movement that goes from right to left physically sends blood flow to the opposite brain hemisphere. And it's something that over the course of time, over the course of years, it creates new neurons, new synapses, makes the corpus callosum thicker and sexier, and improves memory recollection and all sorts of stuff. So this is going to be the first of many brain exercises that we're going to have in this presentation. So I hope you guys are up for it. So yes, the presentation here, as you can of course all read from right to left, Alzheimer's disease and mirror movement development, MMD, by me, Jim Huliston. Now, I'll actually go ahead and read all these slides when they come up in mirror direction, so don't feel pressured of, oh my gosh, I got to read this. I'll either completely read it or sum it up, but I do present it to you as part of the exercise of what mirror movement development is. The mirror reading is a micro form of mirror movement development. There's a macro form of mirror movement development that is more full body movement of throwing with your other arm and kicking with your other foot and so on and so forth. And I'll explain more of that here as I continue. So just to get us a little overview as we continue now, of course, you can choose to either read the left side of this and exercise that opposite brain hemisphere, or you can just go with the traditional side there on the right. They're both mirrored image on the left or the right side. Now, whether you read the side on the left or the side on the right, it's the same information. And this is part of that MMD lifestyle, that mirror movement development lifestyle. And I consider it the equivalent of, you can choose to take the elevator to your destination, or you could choose to take the stairs. Both the elevator and the stairs will get you to your destination, but the person who makes a lifestyle choice of taking the stairs over the elevator is going to appear different over time. They're going to appear more fit. They're going to have a more appearance of a desirable lifestyle. So a lot of MMD is that it's going to feel exhausting working to learn how to read in this mirror direction, but it's something that young kids can actually do. A lot of young kids instinctively mirror right until us well-intended adults, quote unquote, correct them and tell them, oh my gosh, you have dyslexia, we better fix that. But what we're actually doing is shortcoming their development of having a more symmetric brain. In my book, one of the first sightings that I have is of research that I found that talked about the brain being more physically symmetric before we learn how to read. And theoretically, that symmetry would remain and grow if mirror reading, mirror writing, mirror typing, and MMD in general was practiced. So, just a quick overview for us. We'll get into a brief definition of Alzheimer's. We'll talk about the traditional methods of prevention. We'll talk about the MMD prevention methods, mirror movement development. We'll get into some MMD exercises and a Q&A here at the end. And for folks who are wondering what's going on with the slide there, what's the creepy looking eyeball there in the back, this is a mirror spliced duplicated image of someone very famous. Let's see if you can get it here when I look at the next slide. He's right there in the very center. Anybody want to guess who that is? He was a big practitioner in mirror movement development for many, many years. The father of the Italian Renaissance, anybody?
Da Vinci.
Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo da Vinci. I'll get into that here in a bit. So I'm Jim Huliston. I'm an ambidextrous artist. I'm an athlete. I'm an educator. I'm a bilingual, binational, bicoastal tour guide. I am primarily a tour guide here in San Diego. I was first a tour guide in Tijuana, where I lived for 5 years. I was a tour guide for a number of years in Philadelphia. So I'm an expert in the founding fathers, in particular Benjamin Franklin. I worked at the Benjamin Franklin Museum while I was in Philadelphia. I wrote extensively about Benjamin Franklin in my book, which you can see there in the upper left-hand corner, Big Three MMD, History is Ambidextrous and the Benefits of Mirror Movement Development, which is on Amazon, Audible, Kindle, and it just recently came out in Spanish. It's the world's first symmetric book. I'll get into that here in a bit. Oh, in fact, I have there on the upper right-hand corner mirror chalk art that I did ambidextrously in Philadelphia. It's a Leonardo da Vinci quote that says, "All our knowledge has its origins in our perceptions." Mr. Leonardo da Vinci. Now, got a photo, well, a painting right here of someone. Guessing a few of us are from San Diego. Would anyone happen to know who that is? This is back in the year 1542, and that's Point Loma in the very background. Anybody know who that explorer would be?
Spanish.
Yep, he's Spanish. He's Spanish. He's got that nice Spanish trot right there. So that's Cabrillo Point behind us there at Point Loma. That's Juan Rodriguez Cabrillo. He was the very first European to ever set eyes on San Diego back in 1542. And I think of a lot of what I do with mirror movement development as this exploratory passion, because I've had so many people, when I explain this concept to them, they often say, wow, I've never heard of this, but this just makes complete common sense. And I've had a lot of people tell me, quote, wow, I bet mirror movement development would do a lot to help prevent Alzheimer's and dementia. And what I'd love to do is say, with 100% certainty, yes. And I can cite to them all the literature, all the studies on all of this. But there's an unfortunate circumstance here when it comes to mirror movement development, in that science lacks the practitioners to even study for this, because education, we've missed this globally for thousands of years. Every school around the world should be teaching MMD and should have been doing it for centuries, but we've completely missed it. For that reason, that very second slide of Da Vinci in the background with the overview, it's completely symmetric, but it doesn't look symmetric because our eyes are only conditioned and trained to read in one traditional direction. We completely neglect reading in that mirror direction, and as a result, the language acquisition center of the brain, Broca's area, is only in the left hemisphere of more than 90% of humanity. I theorize that by practicing MMD, you actually duplicate that Broca's area, which would allow for ambidexterity. I've become ambidextrous over this practice of almost 20 years. I write left and right-handed in both mirrored and traditional direction, and the only reason that I can propose that is because my Broca's area is duplicating. But in general, when people will say, well, I bet this has a lot to do with preventing Alzheimer's and dementia, I can really only say probably with the utmost confidence, but I'll begin to unpack that and we'll get more into that. But in general, I still strongly encourage this for any and all of us humans. And Alzheimer's and dementia, it's something that ultimately appears to take place because of a series of lifestyle habits over time, and the fact that we only ever read in one direction, write with only one hand or in one direction, throw with one arm, kick with one foot, do board sports in one direction, we're missing something with our intended ideal form of human development, and I'll unpack more of that here in just a bit. So I won't read this whole slide, but I did want to bring it up here because ultimately this presentation is going to be on my YouTube channel. Here's the part where people who are watching this, they can pause it and actually read this. But that basic difference between Alzheimer's, dementia, you can read it here. In so many ways, it sounds so similar to me, but Alzheimer is the most common type of dementia, and I highlighted here in bold, but memory, thinking, learning, highly affected by Alzheimer's. And thinking, memory, and learning is something that increases so much with mirror movement development, and I'll ultimately get into more of that here in a moment. So Right here, traditional prevention methods of Alzheimer's. Now, again, there's that brain icon right there. Again, this is the brain exercise. I want you to be thinking of that. A lot of older adults, when they see mirror writing, they will tell me, quote, I can't read that. They'll tell me they can't. And I'll ask them, well, what's your physical disability? Because if you can read in the traditional direction, you can learn how to read like this. It is an exercise. It takes time. It takes practice, but it's learnable. And when adults learn that there's crazy benefits for this, they're more encouraged to actually work at learning and practicing this. And maybe Dr. Joe Casciani, you're welcome to chime in at the end of all of this. I'd be interested in an update on how your progress is going with mirror reading. If you're still mirror reading for the practice of it, we could talk more about that here towards the end. So, in all the things that I do, you didn't hear me say that I'm a professional neuroscientist or kinesiologist in any way. I actually didn't go to school for any of this stuff. As crazy as that sounds, I've just been practicing this for years. I've experienced incredible benefits. And there's so many people who are my age who want to feel the way that I do that I knew it would be a crime to not share this story. So that's what ultimately compelled me to start my website and my blog, my YouTube channel, my book, and present all this information. So like any millennial who wants to learn about something new, you go to YouTube. So I'll show you a couple thumbnails from YouTube videos that I watched that taught me a lot of what I've come to learn here on just the layman's of Alzheimer's here. You can see Dr. Lisa Genova, she popped up a lot on YouTube when it came to this idea of preventing Alzheimer's. This is a TED Talk that she gave, and I'll just sum this up here, but she's basically talking about how a lot of Alzheimer's is a lifestyle accumulation of amyloid plaque based on poor lifestyle, poor diet, the cardiovascular health. So much of that is just really a culprit of our awful American dietary supply. That has nothing to do with MMD, but I consider mirror movement development the third pillar of longevity, along with nutrition and exercise. But I think diet is the biggest thing for all of this. Diet is just the biggest thing. If you can be eating primarily veggies, fruits, nuts, I think that's going to be the biggest ultimate. Now, again, not a doctor, but that's what I'm strongly led to believe here. Sleep is a big thing right here. She talks about it being a power cleanse for the brain. In the middle here, talking about neuroplasticity and cognitive reserve, decreasing Alzheimer's symptoms, creating these additional synapses and neural pathways. MMD does a lot of that. I'll be getting into more of that here in a bit. She also talks about here, every time that we learn something new, we create these new pathways. And mirror movement development is a constant lifestyle of learning new things. Technically, you're not learning something new with MMD, but you're learning a new way of doing what you've always done. So when it comes to mirror reading, you're not learning how to read all over again. You're just learning the mirrored version of that. So, and here on the bottom, she talks about learning a new language. In the research that I've done, bilingual brains and ambidextrous brains appear to be similar. Now, mirror movement development has been best culturally understood as ambidexterity. But I don't love using the word ambidexterity. I'd rather use the word dual dominant. I believe that's more accurate because ambidextrous literally means right-handed on both sides. You don't have two right hands. You have a left hand and a right hand, and they're both mirror imaged of one another. Okay? Body, again, is physically designed for this. Saying ambidextrous, in my opinion, is a lot like calling Native Americans Indians after you learn they're not actually from India. If you're bad with both hands, you're actually called ambisinistral, which means left-handed on both sides. And that has a lot of big cultural history. I'm open to that in Q&A. I won't get too much into it in the presentation, but a lot of folks, they get questions about that, and we can address that here in the end. Dr. Rudy Tanzini, again, another mirrored slide here. He sums it up with this SLED acronym, reading from right to left, SLED, sleep, learn, exercise, diet. If you can focus on those four things, you're going to be best at staving off Alzheimer's and dementia. Sleep doesn't have anything to do with MMD. Learning and exercise, though, does. Again, diet, nothing to do with MMD, but learning and exercise does. MMD increases the ability to exercise because MMD works at ultimately realigning the body. creating longevity, because if your body is misaligned, your body's not going to feel good enough and functional enough to exercise properly. And you can see this, the world's top athletes, they all practice versions of MMD and they play the longest. LeBron James is one who I write the most about. I'll get into him here in just a little bit. Another slide here from Dr. Lisa Genova. She kind of just mirrors and sums up a lot of what Dr. Rudy there was saying: sleep, diet, exercise, learn. She also mentions there the fourth point, reducing chronic stress. So yoga, meditation, mindfulness, socializing. Yoga is MMD. Yoga, people will say, I feel incredible after doing yoga. Well, guess what? You spend an hour doing MMD, because all yoga sessions, you work on doing the same position and stretch on both sides of the body. Same thing with going to chiropractors. Chiropractors will adjust you on both sides of the body. I'll get into more of this here in a bit. Another slide here I do want to mention here, Tricia Walsh, she's a practitioner of EMDR. She swears by it. She gave this TEDx talk on it. I've had a lot of friends who know me of doing everything that I do with learning and promoting MMD. They said, oh my gosh, have you heard of EMDR? It totally sounds like MMD. And when I've researched it more, it basically is MMD, because EMDR has so much to do with symmetric eye movements and symmetric hand movements. And it does so much to alleviate stress, helping to deal with traumatic memories, improving memory, balancing mood, so much that has to do with MMD. The very bottom there, Dr. Andrew Huberman, talking about eyes being the only external part of the brain. I love Dr. Andrew Huberman. I mentioned that in my book. He talks about that the eyeballs are the only exterior part of the brain. So when we talk about eye movement, it's no subtle thing. The brain is absolutely incredible. It's this 3-pound squishy organ that burns 20% of the body's energy count. And it only takes up 1.5% of the average adult human body. So it's no small thing. That eye movement and getting it symmetric is important. And again, we completely lose that by only ever teaching people to read in one traditional direction. Mirror reading is what you really want to do to balance out that brain. So what exactly is mirror movement development? It's learning how to do everything in mirror direction. If you were actually to video record yourself throughout the day doing everything that you do, take that video footage and then horizontally mirror flip it, your goal of MMD is to work at learning how to do what you see yourself in that video doing. So in that video, you'll see yourself throwing with the other arm, kicking with the other foot, writing with your other hand in mirror direction. Clocks will be mirrored, can openers are mirrored, corkscrews, can openers, you're reading in mirror direction, you're typing on a mirrored keyboard, which I actually have right here. Dun, dun, dun. This is the world's first mirrored computer keyboard. In my Align the Brain workshops, I actually use this. I teach this to people. I've been mirror typing now for the last 8 months. Oh my goodness. If you want to feel what it's like to put your brain in a microwave, learn how to mirror type on a mirrored screen with your mouse in the other hand and the buttons flipped. That's what I teach people. It's insane. And young kids, they can do this a lot easier than adults, because again, their brains are still more symmetric before they develop asymmetrically through typing in only one direction, writing in one direction, reading in one direction, so on and so forth. This slide right here, I'll post again at the very end during our Q&A. You've got 40 different famous practitioners of mirror movement development here. They are many of the world's greatest creatives, thinkers, and athletes. I'll post this again at the very end. You'll see some very familiar faces right here. You're welcome to ask me again at the very end here at the Q&A about them. So, the benefits of mirror movement development. First word right there, you can see endosteroidogenesis. It's an internal creation of bodily steroids. The book Whole Brain Power by Michael Lavery, he talks a lot about it. I'll mention that book in the very end, and I'll talk a little bit more about endosteroidogenesis at the end, but that has so much to do with ideal performance and function of the human brain and body. Memory and learning, I mentioned. Spatial awareness, which you can see greatly in these world's top athletes, as well as many of history's greatest creatives and thinkers. Da Vinci, Franklin, Nikola Tesla, Einstein. I'll get into some more here. And those were faces that, of course, you would have seen on that slide. Reaction time. body performance, general balance. One of the various activities that I do is handrail walking, actually walk on round handrails. For those who know UCSD, or maybe you work at UCSD, there is I took a business class there just over a year ago, Innovation and Design Center. There's the UCSD trolley station. It's the longest handrail I ever walked down. It's 41 stairs, and it's a big battle. I have a YouTube video of that on my YouTube channel. You can watch that because walking on a round handrail, there's a fine line at the top of round handrails that when your body's on top of one of those, your body can't lie as to where the center is. So in order to walk down or walk upwards a handrail, you actually need to exercise equally both sides of the body. And it works to realign the body. If you do it right, after walking handrails, you can feel like you just got out of a chiropractor session. I swear by it. And just a visual representation of those benefits of that body realignment. Even weight loss is something that's associated with MMD because you're burning those calories. Those who have taught this, between Michael Lavery and Diego Irigoyen, who I talk about in my book, my YouTube channel, my blog, they report that not only them, but people that they teach, they're hungrier during this time of working to learn MMD. They're burning more calories. It's wild. I actually took at my local YMCA an in-body scan, and I only go to the gym twice a week. My diet is really good, but I also enjoy my craft beer and things like that. But they took my in-body scan, and they were basically like, I was kind of concerned when I saw it because it gave a normal indication of ideal body fat level, and mine was below. And I took it to them. I was like, should I be worried about this? And they were like, no, you basically have the body composition of an elite athlete. I was like, okay, cool. I can handle that. I'm 42 years old. I'm turning 43 in less than a month. And yeah, I go to the gym twice a week and it's kind of casual, but I do bike a lot. I do walk a lot. I skateboard all the time. I've been skateboarding now for 30 years. And the only reason I can do that is because of MMD. 20 years ago, I was going to chiropractors. I had to quit skateboarding, but skateboarding is the reason why I got into MMD. You can see, of course, LeBron James down there in the bottom left-hand corner. So LeBron James, just like Larry Bird, both those guys do everything left-handed in life except basketball. So whenever they have to do something left-handed in basketball, they can easily do it because they're trained in all these other areas of life left-handed. So they're both considered highly ambidextrous. LeBron James, since the age of 8, was noted by his coaches that he had an uncanny ability to mirror flip plays in his head that LeBron says that NBA players today, most of them can't even do. And LeBron, he was asked in an interview just why he plays like this, and he said, I don't know, but I grew up being very inspired by players like Penny Hardaway and Michael Jordan who play right-handed, and he says, I guess I thought to myself, I better learn how to play right-handed if I want to play like them. LeBron has played longer in the NBA than anyone. He's scored more points than anyone. He turned 40 over a year ago in December. Before he turned 40, he said in an interview jokingly, he said, after I turn 40, I'm going to score another 5,000 points, and I'm going to do it all left-handed. And the world was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. But if you make a lifestyle of developing that, it becomes second nature. So mirror movement development, it basically equals longevity. All the activities associated with longevity are MMD. Walking, running, hiking, cycling, swimming, yoga, all the machines at the gym, chiropractors, all of that, it's all designed to work out both sides of the body. Just to show you here, this is just, again, a complete mirrored image of all those popular sports that you can ultimately learn how to do from that other side and increasing longevity. Again, something that is robbed when it comes to Alzheimer's, that idea of longevity. And this should not surprise us when you just stop and look in a commonsensical way at the physical design of the human body. We are physically designed for this symmetrically. The skeleton of the human body, just like the frame of a car, is symmetric. The exterior features, in general, they're symmetric. The average human body, they're symmetric, just like a car, which is designed for equal left and right hand turns. The internal organs that are asymmetrically all over the place in the human body, they're symmetrically bilaterally weighted down the middle, which is the biggest indication that we're physically designed for this. Just like the car, you open up the hood of a car, the internal components, they're all over the place, but the best designed car is going to weigh the same right down the middle bilaterally because it's made for equal left and right hand turns. It's the equivalent of if you walked into a room and the room was a complete disaster. There was a mess everywhere. But you later learned that all the contents in the room on the left side and the right side equally weighed the same. It would appear beyond coincidental. It sounds silly, though, that we've accepted for the human body to only use the right hand for nearly everything. If you only ever made right-handed turns in your car would be toast quicker than you can imagine. Okay? So, but again, we just accept this with humanity because it's kind of been that way for thousands of years. And I could talk more about that. There's evolutionary theories as to, of course, why this is, but you can still choose to practice mirror movement development, give people left-handed handshakes. It'll be really awkward, but you can tell people, hey, I actually have two brain hemispheres. I'm looking to work out both of them. I hope you don't mind. Anyway, I could talk more about that here at the Q&A. So you can see right here, this is just everyday average stuff in normal life. You can see there the bottom right-hand corner, the mouse. Of course, this topic, this comes up often for me when I meet people. They'll often say, oh my gosh, hey, I'm left-handed. And I'll ask them, oh, you're left-handed. What hand do you use the mouse for? And 9 times out of 10, they'll tell me, oh, the right hand, because that's just how you're taught. Okay. But you can choose to put it in the left hand. And I had someone who, within this last year, she was inspired by all this. She told me, hey, I've been using the mouse in my left hand for the last number of months. It feels really awkward, but I'm feeling less pain now in my right hand that I was dealing with because of the overuse of only using the mouse in my right hand. So I have other success stories that I can share with you of other people who have told me they've been practicing this and they're feeling less pain on their other side. But again, you can just choose to mirror flip all of it, and you can do this. Now, some of this is easier said than not because some of these devices don't yet exist or they're not widely commercially available. But you can do it. For folks who are working with older individuals, golf tends to be an older individual kind of sport. For those folks who maybe they feel like they've had to stop playing golf, I guarantee it's because they only ever play right-handed and only ever swing right-handed gloves. If you tell them, get some lefty clubs, which is easier said than not because you got to get a whole complete left set of clubs. What you could do is tell them, hey, go to the driving range, get a lefty club, and just work at driving lefty or putting lefty. Just that little thing, it's going to feel impossible, but it won't hurt your body. In fact, it's going to work to realign it, and you'll feel better over time. I experience it greatly with skateboarding. Again, I'm 42 years old. I still skate, which means I also still fall. But whenever I'm speeding downhill on a skateboard, I'm always doing it switch because, and I've had this happen where I've fallen and I would fall switch. I've fallen hundreds of times in a traditional stance. If I fall in a traditional stance today, I'm done. But when I fall going switch, it feels more like a chiropractic adjustment. It's crazy. This slide, just a visual representation. I equate so much of the MMD practice with scales. Theoretically, if you've spent 30 years, 40 years reading in the traditional direction, you should think you should spend another 30 to 40 years reading in the traditional direction to ideally balance out the brain. That sounds exhaustive, but sorry, I didn't create the human body. I didn't design it. This appears to be the way that it works. But because of something called manual transfer learning, your dominant side gains a proficiency when you focus exclusively on the less dominant side. So I would theorize to gain a majority of those benefits, you don't need to completely equate that in chronologically, but even if you do it half the time, I experienced that with skateboarding. After I skateboarded exclusively in the traditional stance for 10 years, that misaligned my body. Within 4 years of exclusively skating switch stance, my body was feeling really, really good and much more aligned. So it's just something to keep in mind. This video, it's on my YouTube channel, my AmbiLife YouTube channel, just summing up how and why to mirror read. I get into it, how to use reading mirrors, which on that video in the video link in the description, I linked to the shatterproof mirrors that I got from Amazon that you can use to mirror read. You just hold the mirror at a 45-degree angle. They're shatterproof, so they won't break. So completely safe to use. They just work as a bookmark, and you can mirror read from any book. I also show in that video how to mirror flip screenshots, so you can read from your cell phone like that, and also how to use the mirrorread.com reading app, which right here, this is mirrorread.com. If you don't want to hear about this stuff from only me, the guy who's a tour guide and an artist and an athlete who never went to school for neuroscience, you can go to mirrorread.com. Dr. Sheila Robinson out of Montreal, Canada. She's a psychologist. She created this website years ago. She has a web browser tool here that you can download, and you can mirror read anything from your web browser. I've done the majority of my mirror reading from blogs this way. My brain is so much more symmetric because of this woman's work. I am eternally indebted to her for this work. And she also talks about it here on her website. Also, other international research that was done by other professors on this topic of mirror reading. In general, you're activating more both brain hemispheres. There's a structural improvement of the glial cells inside the corpus callosum, which are responsible for cognition. They're also, those glial cells are kind of the janitorial cells of the brain, cleaning it up, which is great when it comes to preventing Alzheimer's. Gray matter growth in that right hemisphere, which ultimately controls the left hand. Improvement of working memory, mental rotation skills, stuff that people dealing with Alzheimer's would love to be able to increase. And a lot of people, they've told me when it comes to this idea, also MMD is kind of like a puzzle, like a game like Sudoku. I'm like, well, Sudoku, yeah, it's a brain exercise, so yeah, it's kind of, but no. But what is mirrored Sudoku. You can go to Dr. Sheila Robinson's website, you can play some mirrored Sudoku, and again, you'll feel like you put your brain in a microwave. Now, my main man, Mr. Benjamin Franklin right here. That statue right there, that's Benjamin Franklin in Philadelphia. That's the reconstruction of the first monument, basically, of America. Ben Franklin, before he died, he told people, hey, if you guys ever make a statue of me, I want it to look like that, okay? So Ben Franklin, who completely lacked formal education, just like Leonardo da Vinci, Franklin only ever had 2 years of elementary school before the age of 12. He worked from the age of 12 to 42 for 30 years as a colonial printing composer. And if you wanted to get good at cutting down on typos and subsequent wasted paper, you would just learn how to read the letters in the machine, which you can see here on the slide. So Franklin, for 30 years during work, he's basically reading in mirror direction from right to left, as you can see there. But after work, he was then going home at night and reading books in the traditional direction. So his brain would have been abnormally symmetric because of that eye movement. He was basically doing EMDR for 30 years via reading. He's reading in mirror direction during the day, reading traditional direction at night. He would have had an abnormally symmetric brain. 3 years after he wrote signed the Declaration of Independence, he wrote an essay called A Petition of the Left Hand that he addressed to educators. And in this essay, he creatively tells them how both hands are designed for equal use. We should be teaching kids how to develop them as such. He also inspired his good close friend, Thomas Jefferson, after he had an initial need during physical rehabilitation of breaking his right hand. Jefferson spent the last 40 years writing left-handed. And I theorize it would have been likely inspired by his close relationship with Benjamin Franklin. Both Franklin and Jefferson, they're considered the avatars of the Enlightenment because of their brilliance. They were both polymaths. So again, brilliant brains. And I theorize it's heavily because of their decades-long practice of MMD. And right here, Mr. Leonardo da Vinci. Da Vinci never went to school. He was an illegitimate kid. He wasn't permitted to go to school. And he was a native left-hander. So he would write in mirror direction because that's mechanically advantageous for lefties to write in mirror direction. And thank God Da Vinci never went to school, because if he did, teachers would have seen him writing like that and they would have said, oh my gosh, you got dyslexia, we better fix that. So Da Vinci, he wrote left-handed in all of his notebooks for 30 years. Of course, he would have been subsequently reading his notebooks in that direction. But then he'd also be reading in traditional direction, that anything that was published, it was also recorded that he could write right-handed in the traditional direction for anything public facing. The left-handed Beatle, Mr. Paul McCartney, also wrote in mirror direction as a young kid before he was unfortunately corrected by his school teachers.
I wanted to make a comment.
Sure.
Sorry, I stepped away for a second, but it's funny you say about the mouse. There's a couple things I related to. With the mouse, years and years ago, don't want to myself too much, but I have severe carpal tunnel and arthritis in my hands. And so my boss was like, okay, you've got to stop using the right side with the mouse. So I've been using left-handed mouse for years. And I was just thinking yesterday that my left hand's starting to hurt and I need to switch back to the right.
Switch back. Yep.
Right?
I'm doing the same thing. I started going back to right. Yep. And it feels weird.
Mind blowing. And yeah, exactly. And so now I'm ambidextrous. I can use both of them. And I also worked at a printing company. And so, and we used to have to read backwards. Right? At the printing company. So we had one of those old fashioned machines where you put the little pegs in, just like back in the day. So with Benjamin Franklin. So I think that's like, I don't know, really cool. Thank you.
Sure. No, please. Of course. No, absolutely. Yeah. It's I wish that was the story of more of us, because a lot of us, we've never heard of this, but people will say, well, this makes common sense. And again, this is the biggest thing, in my opinion, that education has completely missed. We've totally missed this. And it's only increasing because we're spending so much more time on technology. Like my friends, they've learned to put up with me when it comes to this. I don't text anymore because there's no way to mirror text. I want to continue exercising my other brain hemisphere, but I can't because there's no way to actually mirror text. Thankfully, I can mirror type. So I just leave voice messages for my friends all the time. That's all that I do now. Bill Gates, he's one person I write to in my book as if he's reading it, because he reads a lot. And I'm like, Bill Gates, if you're reading this book, please make for us a mode on all Microsoft products called Da Vinci mode that will mirror flip everything and allow us to mirror type, mirror read everything completely across the board. Because he owns the most expensive book in the world, the Codex Leicester, which is a 72-page notebook by Da Vinci. And he bought it for, I think, $30 million back in 1994, and he's toured it all over the world. And so he would understand this, I think, more easily than not. Plus, he writes left-handed but plays tennis right-handed. Yeah, Mr. Benjamin Franklin, his quote right here: "A learned blockhead is a greater blockhead than an ignorant one." I've felt so depressed over the last number of years in trying to connect with academics on this whole thing, because I typically just hear crickets from them. But normal, average day people, they get this. My major goal at this point, I really want to start a coffee shop called Theory Cafe to introduce this to the world. And Theory Cafe, it'll be a normal coffee shop, but the majority of everything on the walls will be written in mirror direction and have faces of, Da Vinci and Franklin everywhere and all those famous practitioners talk about MMD, but so much of everything is in that mirror direction to encourage people to read in mirror direction. And hopefully through that, the world can get a better sense of this. Because, yeah, academics, they just kind of see this as weird, as different. Plus me, I lack credentials in their mind's eye to even be able to talk about this, since I never went to school for any of this. But no school teaches this. So kind of left with little options here. Okay, so this next slide here, mirrored products and merch. So here's just some examples of mirrored products that one can buy to practice mirror movement development. That mirror calendar there on the bottom left-hand corner that doesn't yet exist, that's going to be one of the next products that I will ultimately create. But a mirrored symmetric baseball glove, those do exist. So you can actually just place it between both hands, throw with both arms, learn that. Mirrored clock, I actually have a mirrored clock. I'm looking at it right now here in my living room. It's completely mirrored, and I actually have that linked here on my website. You can see here, ambilife.org /store. This is on my website. these are products that you can purchase to actually practice MMD. Now, I'm not affiliated with any of these products or these companies. I don't make any money from this, but this is just here for people to be able to use. And some of these, for anyone who's practiced one thing more than anything over their life, that's the thing that I would tell somebody, okay, work to learn that first and foremost. If you've never golfed, you really don't have much of an incumbent need for lefty golf clubs. But the number one thing I do tell everyone is work to learn how to mirror read, because all the reading you've ever done has only been in one traditional direction. And you can just get a shatterproof mirror. You can get that free web browser tool. It costs next to nothing to be able to do this, and you can practice it, and you will feel the brain benefits over time. This video on my website here, talking about the world's first mirrored keyboard, why and how to use it, watch that. That explains all of it, and it's got a link there to where you can buy that mirrored keyboard from the company Kibio. And of course, my book, The World's First Symmetric Book, on audiobook, ebook, print. It's in Español, Los Tres de MA, Ambidiestros de la Historia y los Beneficios del Desarrollo del Movimiento Espejo. So I'm actually practicing a bit now. I have a presentation in March and April. My first one's in Spanish in TJ. I'll be giving that in Tijuana. I can't wait. I'm nervous about it. I'm excited about it, though. That's going to be really cool. But I always tell people, pick up the print version of this because it's physically written in both directions, so you can actually physically practice reading in mirror direction. It's kind of funny. There's actually a couple typos that are in this book, and I fixed the typos and I resubmitted the book to Amazon. And then Amazon, a human at Amazon, took a look at the book and they replied back to me saying, "Oh, Jim, we noticed a problem with your book. Half of all the pages are upside down. You have to reformat this thing." And I was like, okay, that's not what's going on. Read in mirror direction. The first number of pages, they're all in traditional direction. They explain why it's in mirror direction, and it'll get you into it. And they just replied back. They're like, "Yeah, we don't know about this. We're not going to make these changes." And so I dropped it. So it's technically a miracle that you can still get this book on Amazon. This just sums up with Whole Brain Power. This book I highlight more than any other book in my book. And this is where it talks about so much of MMD working to prevent Alzheimer's. He talks about it as ambidexterity, but you can read more about this here. But it's basically summing up activating the ability for memory recollection, that endosteroidogenesis, so on and so forth here. Ditching the elevator, take the stairs. Again, work to learn how to read in mirror direction. Take the stairs instead of the elevator. I recently just launched my brain body fitness group, Ambidex Fitness. So the website, ambidex.fitness. You can check that out. I have a weekly Align the Brain workshop in Ocean Beach. You can attend this. It's every Monday, currently at 5:30. Once the clocks change, it'll go up to 6:30. But you can attend this currently. This is a free weekly workshop. For folks, though, who work with seniors or folks in facilities that are interested in learning this, please contact me. I'd be interested in coming out and actually doing the workshop on site for your folks there as well who are interested in learning about mirror reading, mirror writing, and mirror typing. So just summing it up, MMD for Alzheimer's prevention. Again, MMD increasing memory, learning, body realignment, the ability to exercise, and ultimately longevity. So here's my contact. You can reach out to me, jim@ambilife.org. I'd be thrilled to connect with you on all of this and more. And last slide here is those 40 different MMD creatives, thinkers, and athletes. You're welcome to ask about that. So thank you guys very much.
We might have time to ask some questions, I'm sure, Jim. Thanks for this presentation.
At what level in the dementia, the progression of that illness, should someone be putting MMD into place? Like when
Sure.
should we work with our patients?
And that to me is one of what feels like the most heartbreaking things, because again, I'm convinced we're designed for this from birth. And the great mistake has been saying, no, let's not do both sides, let's just do one. So then we're
Right.
talking about those of us who have spent decades alive only exercising one side of the body, and then at the very end saying, okay, now go to work out the other, and let's expect a 100% recuperation. I don't know how feasible that actually is. What I will tell people is work at learning how to mirror read because you've never done that. That may be one of the quickest ways to feel a clearing of cobwebs. I remember when I was working to learn fluent Spanish in my 30s, that's how I described working to learn Spanish, just feeling my brain clearing cobwebs out and feeling like it was functioning more precisely, and it was exhausting, but again, that was that brain exercise. So if you show someone who's spent decades only reading in the traditional direction, again, they'll tell you, I can't read like that. Tell them, no, it's a brain exercise. Just go little bit by little bit. And I don't know, because I haven't worked yet with people who have dementia to be able to
Well,
tell you,
keep
oh,
doing that.
I've worked with
Well,
these people, and you know, here's what
yeah,
I can tell you. It just hasn't been done yet. That's why one of my first slides was of Juan Rodriguez Cabrillo discovering San Diego. It's like,
that's you.
Juan Rodriguez Cabrillo did not have a map of La Jolla, La Mesa, Hillcrest. He didn't have any of that. He was there. He didn't
Right.
have it. He couldn't tell you what was going on there. It was a completely uncharted territory, but he discovered it. He got the ball rolling, and hundreds of years later, we've now, San Diego is what it is. So that's what comes to my mind when I hear that question.
Well, reach out to me directly and let's see how we can connect you so
Yeah,
that you can train those that work in memory care, and let's see how it works. I know a lot of companies would be
please.
totally willing to connect with you. So I'll send you my cell phone. You can reach out to me afterwards and I'll hook you up.
Thank you. Yes.